Talo Falava, everyone. Good morning, UX homies. My name is Sachi Taulelei.
I'm Dan Cornwall from Digital Arts Network, or Dan from Dan, if that makes it easier.
And I often wish I could say I'm Sachi from Sachi and Sachi, but alas, no. So Dan from Dan and I are here today to talk to you about something we're absolutely passionate about, and that's human-centered design. So we'll talk about how ANZ has adopted this as a foundational strategy that we understand we need to do in order to transform the bank. And how we've partnered with Dan from Dan and the other awesome people at Digital Arts to help us deliver it.
Cool. So we'll talk through a practical example of how we've used human-centered design in creating an application for staff called Banker Workbench. And so we'll talk about some of the lessons that we learned along the way in doing that.
So like any good story, let me start with a little bit of scene setting. ANZ is one of New Zealand's largest companies in terms of profits and assets. We finance over 30% of all home loans in New Zealand. We account for 1% of New Zealand's GDP, and 1 in 5 people who work in finance and insurance work for us. So what I'm really trying to say is that we're big. Some people would say we're huge. Always try to slip in a Trump joke. And I did pay some people to laugh for me. And with that scale comes responsibility, and it's a responsibility that we take seriously. So as an organization, we're structured a little bit like this. We're a highly efficient machine, but we're very process-oriented. And the way that we work, we're designed specifically to mitigate risk. We train our staff to think analytically and to use rational logic to make decisions. So we're kind of like a battleship navigating a very highly regulated industry. And when you think about it, that's exactly how you want your bank to be. Because at the end of the day, you want to be pretty darn sure that we'll take care of your money.
So in the bigger picture, banks no longer have a monopoly on solving financial problems. The fintechs are coming and the fintechs are here. And if you think about it, ANZ is over 100 years old and has a massive base of customers. The fintechs don't have that scale or legacy that they have to contend with. So they're able to provide these innovative experiences that customers choose in comparison.
So the challenge for us is how do we keep the goodness of that scale and that being safe and secure, but offer an experience that customers rave on about. Like no one really writes home about the battleship that they were on. They always talk about the cruise that they took to, where did you go? Noumea. So how do we design products and services that customers really want? So in 2006, Shane Elliott was appointed as ANZ's Group CEO. He's also a New Zealander, which is awesome. He spoke about a desire to change the culture and mindset about banking. So he spoke about shaping a world where cultures thrive and people thrive. And then we have, as part of our New Zealand digital strategy, which is led by Liz Maguire, a digital strategy that talks about a bank with a human touch and designing beautiful digital experiences and helping Kiwis achieve more. And you realize that they get that in order for us to change, we have to change the actual fibre and the culture of the business.
So this kind of support from ANZ's senior leadership is pretty key to getting human-centered design off the ground. As many of you know, businesses struggle with trying to engage directly with users during their processes. There's often a sense that it's going to make the design more expensive. Can't we just jump in and design the right thing from the beginning? Or it's going to slow everything down, Does the dev team really have to wait until we've actually gone and talked to the people who will use it? So in the context of large organizations like ANZ, getting support from senior leadership is absolutely key because it gives you that mandate to take the extra time and the extra cost that pushes back against that kind of cultural status quo under the idea that you're going to be designing the right thing for customers.
So we've adopted human-centered design, and it's not something new. It's existed for a while, and the principles vary from business to business. But the approach that we've taken is centered around 3 things: collaboration, empathy, and experimentation.
Cool. So, like many large organizations of scale, ANZ has a challenge with technology. In a single interaction, say a customer coming in to join the bank, underneath it may actually take a staff member 20 different systems to be able to execute that. And every single one of the systems is particularly old. There are systems here that are older than the staff that are using them. And they may have to have a different login to each of those systems, and along the way they might have to copy and paste the customer's data from one system, log into the next one, paste the data back into that system, and move on. So when it feels difficult for a customer, for the staff member underneath, you have no idea how difficult it actually is. And so it takes a huge amount of training and onboarding and a whole lot of support during the year to make sure staff are able to navigate those systems.
So we recognised to provide customers with the best cruise ship experience, we actually had to focus first and foremost on the experience that our staff have.
Cool. So, and that's where digital arts came in. So we've partnered with ANZ for quite a number of years. And as a design agency, we've always been deeply passionate about the concept that you need to engage directly with actual users as part of the design process. So Banker Workbench for us offered a really new opportunity. It's the ability to design something from the ground up as opposed to something that might have 10 years legacy. But it's also an opportunity for us to redesign how we work together so that we're truly embracing the principles of human-centered design.
So the project team originally defined the goal of what we wanted to achieve as a digital product for ANZ staff providing tools, information, and actions to proactively and reactively service customer needs in a single point of interaction. So I had to read that out, and I want you to remember that because that's a typical way that you would often frame a business outcome. There's nothing actually wrong about it or incorrect, but it's really hard to wrap your brain around it in terms of buy-in.
At the beginning of a project, the truth is that not everybody shares the same KPIs. Everyone comes with different objectives, they come from different departments, and those departments define success differently. It's different for legal than it is for the dev team. So one of the things that we realized was that in collaborating, some of the key things we needed to build was that sense of sharing, but also that people are compromising openly so that they're actually acting as a team instead of negotiating. So we needed to arrive at a shared vision of what we're trying to achieve. And so we started by building alignment for collaboration. We did this through multidisciplinary workshops where we worked with stakeholders and subject matter experts to come together to redefine a shared set of principles, a shared set of goals, and what success would look like for all of us.
So out of that alignment workshop, we came out with a new vision. And it was, how might we provide or empower staff to provide better, faster, and more personalized customer service. So see how I didn't read it? Because I absolutely bought into it. And that's the pivotal moment for the team in terms of not thinking of it as a system or a thing we had to build. It became about empowerment and enablement, which, when you think about it, opens up all kinds of possibilities to do really wonderful things for our staff and ultimately customers.
So the key lesson from this is that we need to reframe our shared goals using a customer lens. We need to all be aligned that we're trying to achieve the same thing as opposed to playing off needs against each other.
And part of that collaboration is getting the right people in the room. So you have to build a team who have multidisciplinary and sometimes interdisciplinary skills with technical, product, business SMEs. And they have to have enough time to come along the whole journey. It doesn't help if they're coming in and out. And they have to actually be empowered to make some decisions and to collaborate together as a team.
We also wanted to redefine what a client and agency relationship looks like. Often that commercial separation between us and them leads to some challenges in communication. It creates invisible barriers. So there's sort of this ownership dynamic where clients can feel like they don't have control over the design process. It's kind of happening in a team that's outside of their grasp, and they just get to see the output and approve it at the end. And inside agencies, you get kind of a power dynamic. It's Can I challenge what the client has said? Can I disagree? Or do I just really have to do as I'm told? So part of trying to take away that separation was to create the sense of what we call #1team.
And that's all about building trust and removing barriers and creating a really safe environment that people can collaborate and share ideas and throw something out there and get challenged. And it really builds or helps you work together to come to the right decision. So once we've reframed our business problem with the customer lens, we embark on a number of discovery activities to look out and in using empathy. And we all know what empathy is. It's about stepping into somebody else's shoes, using a completely different lens from your own, learning on the fly to learn creative possibilities.
So our team undertook a number of different activities to investigate the paradigm of what it means to create a workspace, to create an area that somebody is using all day long, over and over, day in and day out. So to take you on that journey, what is a workbench? What does it mean to create a work environment? So here we see a traditional garage workbench. It kind of has organized access to tools. It has configurability. If we look at another kind of slightly more complicated metaphor, here we see an environment where we need to organize so that people are able to have precision, but they're also able to do tasks over and over, and they're able to do those accurately so that they're not chopping their fingers off. And those people do their task, but they don't actually work in isolation. They have to be able to work as a team as well. And so that brings us to our actual bank environment. We need to be aware of the context in which people are working. So as part of the discovery process, we actually spent a huge amount of time interviewing and observing people in their natural environment. We needed to see how they're already working, the key challenges they had, how they're moving between different modes, what is the interface between the physical world and the digital world, because as part of their work life, it's actually a package of the whole, and who are the other people that are in that. So there are customers and there are other team members, and there are even other tools that are not in the system, and you could just say, well, let's just chuck everything into the system, but you need to understand the context of how they're using those to make the right decisions.
And in the wider context, ANZ has a lot of branches, over 380 in fact. And so you can imagine the differences between them. They're configured differently, they're in different locations. A personal banker in Whakatane, for example, would have a completely different day from someone who works on Queen Street. And so there are lots of complexities and challenges that the team face to really understand who we're designing for. There's location, there's job role, there's familiarity with technology, it's how long you've worked for the bank. So there are lots of things that we had to consider.
And a result of this is we found that staff don't necessarily have a single role or persona. So sure, they have a job description, but they're moving through all sorts of different working modes during their day. And so they might have immediate face-to-face conversations where they're doing something simple like a transfer, or they might be having sit-down conversations with a whole family about how they're going to do their home loan. When that customer's gone, they probably have to go through complex business processes to actually complete that application and work it through the system. And while you'd expect it for people in the contact center, all of the staff have needs during any given day where they might have to jump onto the phone and actually work through a customer's needs.
So the learning that we take from this is to empathize. You can't do it from behind a desk. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but if we hadn't done it, we would have missed out on so many insights of actually observing people in their natural environment. You can't empathize with people by imagining in a boardroom or in a workspace of what a customer would feel like.
So once we'd understood the user needs and the modes and the context in which they were working, we started by making things so that we could dig into where we could offer the best value for users. A key aspect of the human-centered design process is designing rapidly to experiment and test ideas with users. The goal isn't to design the right thing from the outset, it's to learn as quickly as possible. And that's rather than trying to debate the right solution in a room full of stakeholders before you even talk to users. So we started by developing rough concepts that we could test with users, and we did that through paper prototyping of hand-drawn things. And then we put that in front of users and asked them to explore concepts of the same thing that went in very different directions so that we could find out what their mental models were and how they would either help or hinder how they expected to do their job.
And we often find that people give us more feedback based on rough sketches. They often feel hesitant to comment on things that look finished or that you've dedicated a lot of time and effort into. And often they'll pick a pen or a pencil and scribble all over it and essentially start co-designing alongside you.
Our next iteration, and so as you see, we're going to just go through the sequence as the design evolves. We created a clickable interactive prototype. So it's still pretty lo-fi. There's no point at which we would be aiming to use big yellow highlighters as a way of showing an on-state. But the purpose of the iteration is to explore if users can follow the navigation and if the content hierarchy actually makes sense in their mental model of the world. So again, unlike in customer-facing channels, we're not actually expecting users to sail through it and be experts on their first go-through. We want the system to be easy to learn, but not necessarily simplistic. It has to be something that's going to be a powerful tool for them to use every day.
So one of the challenges that we experienced when we went through this round of user testing was staff reaction. So you can imagine if they came from using 5 systems to use to do one task, and then coming to see something like this where they just use one interface, they were over the moon. So there were lots of reactions of, wow, amazing, this is so cool. And as a team, we could have said, patted ourselves on the back and moved on and thought, yeah, we did a great job. But the lesson we learned is that you have to actually ask better questions. You have to delve into why is it so amazing? What makes it so cool? Does it make your job easier or better? And then, harping back to the original vision, does it empower you to give your customer better service?
Our third iteration, we continue to refine the visual design. And a big question we discovered was how much of what we're seeing is an aspect of usability or more a nature of learnability. Staff are so conditioned to do things in a certain way because they're climbing the mountain of their existing systems that we have to sort of assess how much of their reaction to the new screen is trying to adjust their mental model to something being so different and easy.
So as Dan mentioned, we saw staff struggle, and the challenge for us was that in relation to a different mental model or concept that they would learn over time, or was it a design issue that rendered this thing unusable? And there's a fine line sometimes between the two, and you have to delve in deeper to know the difference.
So it's ironic that sometimes you make something easier and it actually becomes harder because of people's expectations. And so our fourth iteration, and you can see from the look and feel, we changed the design again. And the more we learn, the more we change. And in this instance, as we learned specific details that we needed to add to the screen, we started to get a lot more density and a lot more visual noise and cognitive load. So the appropriate thing was to change the design.
And user testing happens usually over each round happens over a couple of days, and there's an observation lab that's set up so that the whole project team can observe and take notes and discuss. And so the product owner through to a developer or a tester will come along and see firsthand what a customer will say about, or a staff member will say about what we've designed.
And so this is key. We have to be able to test, to fail, and learn. We have to be open to learning as we go. The aim is not to pull off the right design at the outset, at the beginning, and then validate that we're awesome. Rather, we need to evolve the design continually towards it being excellent. As the design matured, we added real customers to the testing scenarios. So we set up realistic environments, and we allow staff and customers to use the prototypes to actually role play, trying to do a genuine interaction. And early in this process, as an example, one of the key things we saw was that there was this awkward silence while staff members were doing data entry. So it was quite common for somebody to realize they had this great big form to fill out and then say to the customer, oh, so, got anything going on this weekend? And you can just see their faces going, right, now you talk while I try to get through this form as fast as I can. And then the customer on the other side, when that dead silence runs out, they're just sitting there going, well, I could check my phone while you type into a computer. That sounds like fun.
So the design evolved because of a need to facilitate a conversation and to engage people at the same time. And it was something where we needed to have an interface that could be shared between a staff member and customer. And one of the things that happens when you use a testing environment that's more realistic, I guess, for want of a better word, when you insert customers into your testing scenario, staff change. I guess their demeanor changes a little bit. So they become a little bit more serious when they're doing the user testing. And we observe, again, another facet of human nature. So one of the things that we observed was the variety of keyboard skills that staff have. There are two-finger typers. There are some who could type. People can't spell or could spell. People used acronyms. One of the second most used button on the keyboard was the back one, because they were constantly having to go and retype in the stuff that they typed in. So what we observed there was questions around data integrity, but also the speed in which staff had to input the stuff into the interface. So as a result, the design evolved to allow for more data input points or buttons for commonly used questions or pre-populated fields to minimize the need to actually type and to allow staff to have more time to engage.
So the digital designs we create, they exist in a real world with real people and real conversations and real distractions. And so there's a relationship and an emotional aspect to conversations between staff and customers. So we need to go past usability and we need to go past best practice. We need to design for how it will actually be used. Lastly, one of the big challenges with product design is how to make what we've learned scalable. How do we make sure that what we've learned is going to be reusable for a future civilization of, say, 1 year away? Or potentially, even if you've got other design and dev teams trying to work in parallel, that you're not making the same thing in completely different ways. So to meet this need, we delivered the components as a design system, and that creates a documentation layer that records what we've learned about patterns, how you should use them and how you shouldn't use them, and why they look the way they do. Because inevitably, somewhere down the track, there'll be a developer who goes, well, I wouldn't have done it like that. So there has to be that kind of connection of story as to why something is a certain way.
So this journey has been an amazing experience. I've learned as an individual, as a UX professional, but the team has also learned together, which is amazing. But the best result of all is feedback that staff provide us. And the feedback has been pretty good, I must say. Yesterday, I got the best one. Someone said, "This is legit." Which I totally want to put on a T-shirt and wear around the office. But it isn't just about creating a system for people to use. It actually makes a difference in their working lives. So the first release of Banker Workbench, which was a while ago, was around booking a branch appointment tool. And we've seen the time that it's taken. Usually, it used to take 10 minutes to book an appointment for a customer in a branch, believe it or not. And it has come down to less than a minute. And so this is across, if you take that across 10,000 odd bookings, that's 3,000 staff hours that bankers get back in their day to help customers better.
So we're collaborating closely and we're working as a team. We're working with people. We're gaining empathy, and we're understanding how staff and customers see the world together. And we're learning through making. We get to play with ideas based on real needs and see if they work or not. We're getting to improve the lives of as many people as possible, and as designers, that's what it's all about.